Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm your host, Ian Carlos Crawford.
And I'm Philip Ellis, and we are joined by two fantastic guests today. First up, we have metal musician, Halloweenies editor, and co-founder editor of the Lady Killers podcast.
May, she's cheeky, isn't she, Schultz?
Hello, May.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
So great to have you. And also we have writer and video producer of 5x5 Takes,
Sarah, who does not have a fun little catchphrase, but that's my name. Yeah.
But yes, so we are here to talk season 3's consequences. Philip, I want to know, so Philip asked me which episode it was before agreeing, and I was like, fuck, he's going to say no because consequences is one of like the not as big episodes. But then you were like, ooh, yes, okay. So tell me, I want to know how you felt revisiting this episode.
So it was really interesting, actually, like watching it just today in isolation without Bad Girls first.
Yeah.
And it's like Bad Girls is the really fun, wild night out, and then Consequences is the hangover the next day.
Yes.
And so it was like, oh yeah, it's a bit more of a bummer than I remember because like you haven't got all like when like the previously on sort of sequence started, and I was like, oh, that like iconic scene of them like dancing together in the bronze and all that. That's like I've missed that. Okay, fine. But it's like tonally a very strange episode because it sort of makes some choices that are different from the rest of the show. And yeah, it's just like it's really interesting to like dive into a Faith episode in complete isolation.
Yeah.
Because I think this is the first time watching it that I was like, oh my God, like Eliza Dushku was a child in this. She is a baby.
Yeah.
And like, it's like everyone's like saying like, oh, she's this, that, the other. And it's just like, she's just a little girl. She's just a girl.
She was like 17, right? Was she 17?
Yeah.
And it's like they give her like no makeup in this episode. So she looks like even more like, I think it's like, so they make her look like kind of washed out and really
like less glam. Yeah.
I actually took a note on that because they don't just give her no makeup. They transition from her normal glam makeup to no makeup. And then they do this like sallow washed out look.
Yeah, she looks
gaunt. They didn't do the best job with it because you can really tell that it's makeup, and when you know what she looks like normally, you're just like, oh yeah. But it still gets the point across that she's like worn out and fucked up.
Yeah.
It's a bit like how when Spike came into the show and like when Angel turned evil, they gave them like even paler makeup. It's like when they're evil, they're like even paler.
Now it makes me laugh that they made Angelus's lips like pale. I think that's always very funny.
Yes.
Very
it looks
strange.
so weird. Like, especially when I'm like, that shit I've noticed like when I'm screenshotting or screen recording and I'm like, oh wow, like this is really like, because if you're just watching, you're not like paying that close attention, or if it's not your 1,000th watch like all of us do, it's easy not to notice. But yeah, like especially when you're looking at the images as a screenshot, it's like, whew, that is really apparent. I love that the previously on is like a full recap of Buffy and Faith's date. That's like all it is, like showing them like dating.
That's all that matters.
Well, yeah, I mean, it really is. And I even feel like as queer folks, a lot of us can have this, right? Where it's like, there is sexual tension, but I mean, like you said, May, it doesn't always have to be sexual. Sometimes it is like unspoken sexual tension and like, it just makes things weird. And I feel like that's what happens with Buffy and Faith is like, they maybe, I always see like Faith is the one that maybe knows what's happening and Buffy is maybe the oblivious straight identifying girl who's like, no, we're just close friends. But like, if she thought about it enough, she might be like, oh wait, maybe there is something more than just friends. But like, I feel like so many queer folks, especially when you're younger, have these like friendships that are kind of where it's like, are you dating? Are you not dating?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about that a lot on our Jennifer's Body episode, which is coming out soon. Nice. About, having those relationships where one person is kind of in love with the other person and doesn't really want to admit it, and the other person is codependent on them. And that's how Jennifer and Needy's relationship is. Needy is very clearly in love with Jennifer, and Jennifer loves her, but she also kind of uses her for her kindness. And that's very similar to Faith and Buffy, I think.
Yeah.
Let's not pretend that Buffy doesn't love having this hot girl who clearly has a crush on her or wants to be near her all the time, and feel that charge.
Mm.
So then post credits, we get Wes telling Faith and Buffy he wants them to look into the murder of the deputy mayor. This, Sarah, to your point, I do think this is Wes being like, ooh, well, it was the deputy mayor. There might be something up.
Yeah.
And, even Faith, even Giles is like, no, I agree with them. It's a human murder. We don't need to do that. And I kind of, when he's like, if you ask me, and he's like, well, I didn't ask you.
Oh, one of my notes is Wesley Wyndham-Pryce, professional bitch.
No, he's so irritating in this episode. Oh, God, yeah.
He is.
And then Cordelia comes in, and because she's our professional bitch, Wesley turns into professional bumbling idiot.
Yes. I love
God.
Oh my God. I love that line where Buffy goes, she's a friend, and Cordelia says, let's not get too excited.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not exaggerate. That's what she says. It's so good.
This whole scene was so fun because we have been covering Angel season 2 quite recently. And it's like, seeing Wes and Cordelia's first meeting, knowing that, they go on to become trusted friends, and remembering that this is where it started.
It's quite funny.
Just very funny that funny as well that he thinks she's a teacher, because in season 3 they really do dress Charisma Carpenter like a 30-year-old yuppie.
Also, isn't she 30? If I recall, wasn't she 27 during the filming of season 1, which would make her 29, 30 in season 3?
So that for me, that's the biggest issue with trying to do why the jailbait stuff. I forget, because I'm like, but these people clearly are the same age. They couldn't be any more obviously the same age. And so him, when he's like, oh, you teach psychology? And she's like, I take psychology. And Giles, I love when Giles gets to be shitty, because he just walks by quickly and goes, she's a student, and just keeps walking.
Oh, they drops her hand as well.
Yeah. And it's just hard for me to be it makes sense that he would think she's a teacher. Not that Charisma Carpenter is gorgeous. It's not that she looks quote unquote old. She just does not look like
old people
child,
can be gorgeous. Right? Come on, be nice to
Helen Mirren is my number one celebrity crush.
But you know,
you and 50 Cent both have such a thing for Helen Mirren.
I think that's the only time I've ever been compared to 50 Cent.
Well, but you know what I mean. I don't mean old in a negative. I just mean I don't want to sound like I'm insulting her.
I'm teasing. Yes. Yeah.
She looks great, but I love that Cordelia as a character does not fucking miss, right? She's like, ooh, I like this hot nerd. I'm going to flirt with him fucking immediately. She puts on her biggest smile and she says, welcome to Sunnydale. And she calls him Giles, the next generation. I just love seeing that shit with Cordelia, because it's she keeps her eyes on the prize. She knows what she fucking wants, and she's gonna immediately try for it.
Not to jump too far ahead, but I do love when they finally consummate their crush with a kiss. And
0 out of 10.
It's the worst kiss ever, intentionally. But you can tell when they filmed it, they were having so much fun trying to have a bad kiss.
I'm sure they were, because it really it's so goofy.
Yeah.
The mayor learns from Mr. Trick that a Slayer was responsible for the murder.
Right.
And then Buffy and Faith break into his office, and it's sort of it's we're seeding, the mayor he's planning something, and it's big and it's shady, but they don't want to distract us too much with that yet, because they've got to, breadcrumb that throughout the rest of the season. So we just sort of it's something suspicious is going on. All of his files have been taken. The mayor is shredding them. But basically, the key bit here is that Buffy and Faith see that the mayor is working with vampires.
Yes.
New information for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have that conversation when they're walking through downtown Sunnydale about, not realizing that the mayor was evil and that it surprises Buffy, but Faith isn't surprised.
Yeah.
And then they have a very, very much too loud conversation about
I also wrote
Faith
that down. I'm
guy.
so glad you said that. It made me laugh. They're just screaming in the middle of the street. Faith, you killed a man. It's girl.
Let's keep it down a little bit.
These girls are rehearsing a very bad high school play.
Yeah. Meanwhile, everyone in the espresso pump is just what the hell is going on
the
out
undercover
there?
cop at the espresso pump just taking notes. Interesting. It's so funny.
I knew it.
Girl. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so this is the first time they figure out that the mayor is bad and working with vampires or talking about it in the street. And yeah, Faith is they have a lot of shows do this, right? Like where it's like we're having this conversation too publicly and loudly.
Yeah.
But
it's theater. This is where you go, it's theater, and then you move on. You know.
Right. Yeah. And what is it? She's like, less than 24 hours ago, you killed a man. Now you're all zippity doo dah. And Buffy says she knows how Faith's feeling because she feels it too. And okay, so again, this is where I go, like, there is nothing more Buffy could do. Like, I really don't think because Buffy is trying. Buffy is like spiraling herself because she feels guilty.
Yeah.
And like, Faith is just kind of like, no, fuck you. What do we feel bad about? But also, Faith's conversation here about like, well, we are the law is reminiscent of Buffy's conversation with Willow and Xander in Selfless when she's like, I have to kill Anya, which is one of the only times I would say Xander was correct. I don't say that often, but in that conversation where he's like, oh, but if it were Angel or like Spike, you would say, no, we can save them. But because it's Anya, you're like, yeah, let's go kill her.
So true.
Which, I don't often side with Xander over my beloved Buffy, but that's one of the few times I do.
Totally
But
agree.
anyway, so they, I just don't know what else Buffy could do at this point other than tell Giles.
I mean, I don't think there's anything at this juncture. I think, especially, with the tools she has as a young person who's also spiraling, the only thing that I can pull out just for the sake of discussion is previously to this. I think I don't know if there's hindsight 2020 something that could have well integrated Faith into the team that would have made her more willing to listen and trust. Right, I can see previously ways that Faith might have been able to be welcomed into the team more. But at this point, no, she's pulling out all the stops. But it's not about, there is no perfect formula for anything Buffy could say at this point, because it's not about her saying the perfect thing. It's about Faith's temperament at this point, which, is, I don't really think there's anything that Buffy herself could have said at this point. Also because there's that inherent dynamic between her and Buffy in which, Faith, believes that she's the dark side that's tempting Buffy, towards murdering people and being bisexual, and also vice versa, right? She also has this sort of like a little bit of resentment towards, she's like, it was supposed to be my town, right? Like she comes to this, she's this kid who's had kind of a fucked up life, who then gets this one cool thing, which is, a destiny and superpowers, and then is like, oh, sorry, someone already has that spot. Like there's that too of like that feeling of like, oh, I'm always going to be your literal and literary shadow, So there's that piece too, that any appeal, I think, that came from Buffy, Faith was, even her defenses included, like already just her temperament, she was going to discard it, I think, even more so from Buffy, because she already has this sense of like, God, Buffy thinks she's so much better than me, right? Buffy thinks she's so much purer than me. Yeah. And so she, I mean, that's the sense I get, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
oh, absolutely. And it's like the more that Buffy, tries to have that conversation with her, it's like Faith is just digging her heels in, and that's kind of leads. She's kind of almost having this conversation with herself, where she's like, well, actually, like, you know what? I am like more powerful and just more special and better and different. So maybe the rules shouldn't apply to me. Actually, you know what? I did nothing wrong. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Buffy walks into her home. The police are there. We see that they're investigating both Faith and Buffy at the same time, and they don't have their. I was like, motherfucker, they don't have their stories together. Like, didn't they already do this?
That's embarrassing.
Yeah. Like, if you're covering up a murder, maybe that's like a thing you should think about is your stories. But then
I've always wondered, like, it is like, did they sit down and get the story straight, and then Faith is like going off book because she's trying to implicate Buffy?
I could see that.
I think because it comes as a surprise to both of them that a cop shows up to talk to each of them, they didn't even think about having to do that before, because it's not something they've done. They're not used to having to answer to anyone except maybe Giles and Wesley. They're the Slayers. They know what they're doing. They're capable. They're smart. So this is uncharted territory for them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true. So then we cut to the library and Buffy enters and she's there to tell Giles everything, but what happens, Philip?
So Faith has beat her there and she has framed Buffy Ann Summers.
No.
And I just want to say a best actor nomination for Giles here.
Yes.
Because every single time I think he's genuinely angry and it upsets me.
Right? It's like, no, Dad, don't be mad. Like,
and it's such a good like the way that like Faith like comes into frame behind Giles. It's very like shitty like youngest sibling energy. It's like, I told on you.
Oh, absolutely.
And then when she, you know, like when the music changes, when she's like, yeah, he had to know what you did, and it's just like, you're like, oh, and again, because we are so locked into Buffy's perspective, like I'm like, oh my god, that just knocked me sick. Like, oh my god, he thinks that she did it. And then we get the lovely reversal, and he's like, "Oh no, I know it was Faith. You know, she can't lie for toffee." And it's just like, "Oh my god, thank God, Dad's here to take care of me."
Yeah, my note for this part was Giles is the best dad.
He just is.
No,
right?
it's such a good beat for their relationship. I love how he's just immediate. I mean, who had any doubt, right? But like how he's just immediately on her side. Like both, like he's like, okay, I'm going to play this up. Right. And then the second she's like in the private room with him, he's like, no, don't worry about it. Like it's such a good beat for the relationship.
Especially coming off of Helpless. Like I feel like.
Good point. Yeah. Me when I forgot.
This is like a really important, like, oh, look, they are kind of back. Like.
They had a rupture and now they're repairing.
Yeah. I also like that Giles, you know, he tells her, he's like, why didn't you tell me? They're like, we have things in place for if this happens. Of course, mistakes happen. Because I do think that is an interesting, like, it really isn't that wild that Faith might have done that by, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm not that coordinated. If I were Slayer, I could see myself accidentally being like, oh my God, I killed someone by accident. They weren't a vampire. I thought they were. Yeah. Like,
no, I like that. I like that acknowledgement. Kind of wish they'd like, I don't know, done a little bit more with that, just like world building wise. I'm not like super mad about it in either way, but I think it's neat that there's sort of like this anticlimax where Giles is like, hey, this happens. And then you go, oh yeah, no, that kind of tracks. You have a superpowered person killing things that occasionally look like people. You know what I mean? Like shit'll happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, they do just look like people.
Yeah.
So like, that's not that crazy for that to happen. So I did like at least acknowledging that there was something in place. But I even like that Giles, because again, coming off Helpless is like, but I don't want to involve them. They will make it worse.
Yeah.
Let's not tell anyone else.
Yeah.
Let's try to handle this us.
Because one of the thematic, one of the themes of the season, right, is like authority, you know, like with the mayor and the council, it's this like, how much can you or can't you rely on, you know, established systems of authority? Like, and the show argues, you know, pretty staunchly, like, no. So I do like that this is like the, you know, another piece of that.
Yeah.
Institutions.
Like,
there we go. Institutions. Something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
ACAB includes the Slayers Council.
Exactly.
Yeah. Includes Watchers and the school principal.
Oh my God. I called it the Slayers Council, not the Watchers Council. I'm fired.
Fake fan. Then we end up at Angel's Mansion, right?
Which looks like Legos.
Oh my God. Yeah. Every time you get that exterior shot of the mansion,
right?
I know that it's mentioned on the podcast before, but it's just like, what? Where?
It looks like Legos.
Well, it's actually a real building that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Which is so weird.
I mean, I kind of love it because, like, ultimately, deep down, we know that Angel is just, like, lives for drama. And, like, that is such a stunty house.
Yeah,
it is.
But also, he has like iron chains just like on the living room wall.
Well, of course, that's what he was tied up with when he was feral. You know.
I also like. I'm always curious. Like, I mean, I know it's just a set on the inside, but I'm like, where's the bedroom? Like, what? Where's like? I want to see the rest of this because this is a mansion, and like we only ever see that one weird place where you enter by a curtain.
And the garden.
We do see the bedroom when Spike and Drusilla are still living there when they kidnap Giles.
Yes, that's true. We do.
We just don't know where it is from the main atrium.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, someone should make this in Sims.
I'm sure someone's done it in Minecraft or
Good.
something.
Perfect.
I had a Summer's House download for Sims 2.
Of course
and
you
I
did.
fucking loved it. Sims 2 was my favorite because you could just like, their website would have that shit where it's just like, here are all the fan made things. And it'd be like Buffy's house, like a floor plan accurate of Buffy's house.
Of course.
The X-Men mansion. And I had all of them.
Of
I'm
course.
such a weird elder millennial in that I never played The Sims.
I was
like, I
obsessed.
watched friends play it, but I never played it.
I also never
I
did.
have never played.
Yeah.
You didn't, Philip?
Never. No,
Mm.
I'm not really a computer game person.
I'm not a game person either. Like I don't even have a gaming system. The last one I owned was PlayStation 2, but that specifically, I don't know. There was something about like a narcissistic gay man who also wants to be a writer, like having control of everything people are doing. That like really
Wait, you're
appealed to
gay?
me. I know, right? And like, I don't know, it just like really worked with all of my like, it's like, ooh, I can make Buffy and Faith kiss. Ooh, Ian is dating Spike. Like,
Sounds good to me on all counts.
I remember I made a house with, I made a sim of me and my boyfriend at the time, and I had us just in a house with like all of the like men we thought were hot. And it was like, oh, this is the house where everyone's boyfriends.
That's so powerful of you.
Powerful is one of the P words, also maybe pathetic, but you know, we'll keep moving.
Okay, so yeah, Angel is basically trying to
Right.
talk and get through to Faith, and we see, and this is a fun little actual bit again, like something that the show I don't think does very often, where the camera follows Angel outside, and we see that Buffy is outside. Because again, it's like you think that Faith is the main character in the scene, but then we're being dragged back to Buffy's perspective.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's true.
And yeah, we have, you know, she's rooting for Faith and she's trying to be there for her, but she's also like, yeah, keep her chained to the wall, that'll help.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go get her stuff. Meanwhile, keep her chained.
Yeah, and then we have that sort of very, you know, gothic baroque back and forth. It's very, I do enjoy when Buffy delves into like Angel's Anne Rice reading side. He's like, oh well, I killed for pleasure, and I'm not getting any older. It's just like turns into like a gay Vincent Price, an even gayer Vincent Price. And then we get the, you know, I hope evil takes MasterCard line, which
It's
Faith would just never be approved for a credit card.
yeah, God.
It has 0 credit.
We're like, I hope evil takes a bunch of pennies that I found on the ground.
Right. And some bad checks.
Yeah.
And then Wesley comes in and ruins it all.
Yeah.
Discuss.
I think it's so funny how often the Watchers Council is so ineffective. And, you know, that goes with the show's main message of that these systems of authority and structure are pointless. They're useless. They suck. It's all down to individual community. And that kind of makes the show anarchist in tone, which I really like.
Finn.
And maybe that's...
I'm an anarchist.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, I love that line because it is kind of the thesis statement of the show. It shows you that when people band together in a sense of community simply for the sake of helping each other, that works better than government or other established systems of authority that try to control people. It shouldn't be about controlling people. It should be about helping people. And I love that this is a prime example of it, you know, in the middle of this season that is all about bucking authority. You know, Giles quits the Watchers Council. Buffy tries to quit the Watchers Council. Faith disobeys all of these orders that come from the Watchers Council. And even though it's evil, she finds community and support with the mayor.
And then they kill the mayor. Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, and then they eventually kill the mayor, who in this town is essentially the pinnacle of authority. And it's just, I don't know, it's a really nice lead in or continuation of that theme within the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I love this scene. In my bulleted notes in caps, I wrote Angel Time, there's my besties, because I love them. I live in a little fantasy world in which in some pocket post everything being like difficult and terrible, Like Angel and Faith, and let's just throw Willow in there for good measure. Willow and Faith like take Angel to the little gay bars and they just have a great little time together. Like they are just my three besties. It's like Angel and his emotional support lesbians. Faith is a lesbian to me. And yeah, I love their besties to me. Like their relationship in Angel the series like is truly the pinnacle. So I love seeing like the groundwork for that of their relationship. So yeah, I wrote I said, God, this is so proto Angel the series because it really is. Yeah.
To your
Anyway.
point, I do love him and Faith together. I think the dynamic there is like really great.
Yeah.
So then we cut to the Watchers van, and almost immediately they fuck it up, and Faith beats up the one guard, gets the keys, gets out. Wesley, tries to pick up a monkey wrench, and it does not work out. She jumps out. I did read somewhere that they originally wanted him, like the plan was for him to die.
Oh wow.
Wes?
I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't kill him because I don't know. I mean, I love him on Angel, so
yeah, he has one of the best starts on Angel.
I do. I think he becomes like very valuable and like I don't know. I love him, but like, and I even like here it's like he serves his purpose, right? It's not like he's not supposed to be a character we're loving. He's supposed to be like kind of fucking annoying.
And it's really important that we see him like he's over, a bit like Xander. He has overstepped. He's overreached here. He's overestimated his own kind of abilities and powers. But then he's like immediately brought back down to earth. Like she beats the shit out of him. She gets away, and then when he comes back to the library, he's like, "I want to help. Like I done fucked up.
Yeah.
Can we like I need your help?" And it's like this. It's the very first moment where you're like, "Oh, maybe he's not just an asshole. Maybe there's like." Hope for him yet.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's like important. Yeah.
This stuff with Faith is like there's so much groundwork. Again, now that I'm saying it, for Angel the series, for Angel, for Faith, and for Wes in this episode, which I think is very cool. I think that's just a very cool phenomenon in the show and in this universe. That there's so much groundwork being laid. Like everything that Wes does here with Faith will be echoed with Connor. Like almost beat for beat in a lot of ways, like, unilaterally making an impulsive decision, electing himself commander of a decision that goes awry and fucks up a young person's life, like, I think it's interesting. It's very cool.
Yeah. Faith gets out. We cut to the library. The Scoobies are having their meeting and Wes enters and Buffy immediately is like, "You let her escape." And he's like, "Well, I didn't really let her."
Yeah, I like that they kind of, they are holding Wesley accountable for like fucking up the plan, but also I don't think that they had thought through their own plan.
Yeah.
That thoroughly. It's like, oh yeah, let's take this incredibly like vulnerable and volatile person.
Yeah.
Like who's like, a risk to herself and others, and then just like lock her up.
Yeah.
Like, but I when Willow's like, maybe she deserves to be behind bars, it's like points were made. She's killed a man.
Yes.
She like her first instinct is to like assault anyone who gets in her way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then Buffy, she basically has a plan for them all to split up. She's going to the docks, which, if I recall, Faith did explicitly say, "Oh, we jump to the docks if we get caught," right? In the earlier, yeah. My take is that it's very the Faith stuff this time around is maybe the first time I've ever realized the Faith stuff is a little unbalanced, right? Going through, I mean, Philip, you were just saying, we just finished Angel Season 2. Going through Angel Season 2, I guess unbalanced kind of is what Faith's storyline is, like, supposed to be. She's supposed to be kind of, like, reactive, not, like, let me sit on this and think about it. She just reacts. So sometimes she reacts in, like, a good way. Sometimes she reacts in a terrible way. Here where she does save Buffy, like Faith gets pushed out of the way and Buffy gets crushed by that crate. Mr. Trick attacks and Faith makes the choice to stake Mr. Trick and save Buffy, right? But then again, it's like, but then what the fuck did she go to the mayor for? But I think it's because she does care about Buffy, but she doesn't feel she has a place with Buffy, right?
She's holding that dialectic. I care about Buffy. I know Buffy is trying to help me. And I want to try out this evil thing.
Good.
Yes,
And thanks for pulling out the dialectic. That's also my favorite thing.
I have a lot of experience with dialectical behavioral therapy, and I always try to apply it to my analyses of pop culture.
Listen, things are often multiple things. Am I right?
Listen, as a professor who teaches writing, can you explain what that means? Because I don't really know what that.
So a dialectical is the idea that two seemingly opposing truths can both be held at the same time. So, for example, a few minutes ago, I was trying to hold it because I've had to pee for like an hour. So I was like, okay, I have to pee. And I'm in the middle of recording this podcast. And it's basically knowing like, yeah, both of those things are true. And then deciding how to move forward from that with an informed and emotionally balanced point of view. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can't hold it anymore. I'm going to pee myself. So I just very quietly got up, went and peed, and came back, and no one knew. But essentially, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, is built on that foundation, holding those two opposing truths and then using skills to navigate them. It was originally developed specifically to help people with borderline personality disorder in particular, which I myself have. And that's part of why I've done so much work with DBT. It is extremely valuable and extremely helpful for anyone who's neurospicy.
Mm-hmm. It's the idea, right? It's sort of the antidote to, extreme and black and white thinking, right? Which can exist in those sorts of people, but also in general, right? Of like, I mean, which is what Faith, right? To try to connect it to the story we're talking about, right? Which is what Faith and people like her and people in those kinds of situations, right, can lean into when something is very scary and you're in an instinct and fear-based response, right? It's very easy to go into all or nothing, right? This person, this person is either my friend or is my enemy. If you're not with me, then you're my enemy. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah. I'm terribly sorry for that. But it's like, what I mean? It's like this all or nothing thing. And so it's a quick sort of like reframing antidote to be like we were saying, right? Like the thing when I said about like Buffy and Faith, like it's both, right? It's both, Faith herself has trust issues and, tends to isolate and put up defenses. And the Scooby Gang, could have hypothetically, done more, is also kind of insular, right? And could have done more work to integrate her, like which doesn't mean it's anybody's fault. It's like it's both, right? And I also find that very useful in analyzing fiction because it's like most of the time things are multiple things, right? Faith does want help. Faith is at her heart not a bad person, capital B bad person, and she's making bad choices, as you do.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So then we get the mayor's office and Faith is there at his door, which I do always forget how late in the season Faith like fully turns villain.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing I find a little frustrating about season 3 is I wish her arc was a little bit more balanced. Or that it continued into season 4.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so now that we are at the end, I have a little trivia from the episode that although Seth Green is credited in the episode, this is the only time during season 3 that a main character is absent who appears in the credits.
Which is a bummer. I feel like he would have been a really good asset to have in this episode.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Especially because he's a werewolf too. He's got like a little something.
Right, also that, yeah. Buffy has a nightmare of Faith drowning her, and years later, this is referenced on the cover of the comic where Faith does almost drown Buffy in No Future for You Part 3. And Faith says to Buffy, "We are the law," which is not unlike what Buffy says later in Selfless. And Alan Finch's death is the third murder investigation in which Buffy has been involved in less than 2 years, including Ted and Becoming Part 2. And all of the previous cases, I mean, as you mentioned, May, had the same detective on them, which is a thing that the Buffyverse does so well is just like, sure, it's the same detective. That doesn't matter, but that's a nice like continuity thing of like, this guy's a little weary of her because he's investigated. This is the third time he's investigating her about a murder.
I always forget that he's in Becoming.
Yeah. So now that we're at the end, favorite outfit, Sarah?
Oh, God. So in my notes, once again, that I took at your behest, I wrote, I would say Faith's outfit when she assaults Xander, but in principle, I can't say that. She looks great, but I just feel bad, complimenting that scene. So, in lieu of that, I will say I think Willow's red shirt and blue overalls combo feels kind of iconic for some reason to me, even though I don't know how often we see it. It feels very cute, feels very Willow.
It's also very baby gay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. Yeah.
It's very 2024, they, them, like Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'd agree with that. Favorite outfit, May?
I love Buffy's sheep pajamas at the beginning. They're super cute. But they're no match for her yummy sushi pajamas from season 5. But I think my favorite is that leopard print coat that she wears to the docks. It's so good. And even though her hair is still growing out from the very, very, very bad decision of her haircut in,
Amends.
Amends, thank you. I was like, forgiveness? No, that's not right. Yeah, she still looks great in that coat. It suits her so well. I have a sort of similar coat, and I love it.
All right. I can see you rocking that, May. Philip?
So maybe for the first time ever, I'm going to say Angel.
Ooh.
Really?
Because in season 2 and season 3, like it's sort of, and especially in season 3, like he tends to just like, he has the Angel uniform of like the black leather trench coat and like a black shirt, right?
Yeah.
But in the scene where he is trying to get through to Faith, his coat is like a really nice, like woolen texture. It maybe has like a very like small like herringbone pattern on it, and then he's wearing this beautiful forest green shirt. And it's like, I think maybe it's because I'm watching on an HD TV for the first time. Maybe it's because I literally just started wearing glasses, so I'm noticing these.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, I was like, yeah, he looks good.
All right. I think my favorite outfit is, again, May, the cheetah print jacket Buffy's wearing at the end, but also a nice second place to Faith. Everything she's wearing when Xander goes to her hotel room, and she has this like cute sheer top with like a black halter top underneath and like the black leather pants, and her hair looks very cute up.
It's exactly what you would wear while just like watching TV at home by yourself.
Exactly. When you're in your evil spiral era.
Yeah. Favorite scene, May?
I really love the scene where Giles is feigning that Buffy is to blame. And then they go into his office and he's like, oh, girl, I got you. Nah, I know Faith is full of shit. You're fine. We're going to figure this out. There's just something wonderful about that. It's, like you said, coming off of Helpless a few episodes ago, it's such a nice moment of repair for their relationship because they love each other. They care about each other. And that was such a big betrayal that happened. And so knowing that he is doing everything he can to have her back and to make sure that she knows he's still her watcher, she's still his slayer, it's very comforting, and it's very kind of the heart of the show.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Sarah?
So many, but I'm just gonna say for my two little pookies, the Angel Faith conversation.
Okay. Philip?
So for me, it's also the scene where Giles is pretending to believe Faith, and then we have the reveal that he knows what's really going on. It's just like it's a bit of great writing. It's a bit of great acting. It's like a fun, like there's great suspense there. It's like this episode is in many ways a thriller.
Yeah.
It's like a noirish thriller, and it's just like it's a great character moment for Faith. Again, like overestimating her abilities, Buffy being vulnerable and finally, wanting to crumble and tell Giles, and then Giles just being this incredibly like stabilizing presence.
Yeah.
So like that whole sequence, I loved it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
No, I agree. That's also my favorite scene. I love seeing Giles be the good dad that he is. All right, what grade do we give this episode, Philip?
Oh, I mean, it's still kind of, there's some stuff that doesn't work. The dream sequence at the beginning, I would just have loved to have seen, like, did Faith have the same dream? I would have been so interested in a version of the story where we got to see more of, inside her head. But I think ultimately, like, it moves the story forward in a way that, like, we get delicious payoff in many ways, throughout the rest of the season. So I'm going to say like a B++.
Okay. I thought you were giving a bad grade with that. I was like, oh, but yeah, no. May, what grade do you give it?
I'm going to give it a straight up B when it's by itself. When it's paired with Bad Girls, I think it moves up to an A- for me, because Bad Girls is like a solid A episode. This isn't quite as good, but if you watch them together, it flows very well. They're two sides of the same coin, and I think it was really well done.
Okay, that's fair.
Also, are we still going to say what we thought Dawn would be doing? Is that coming after the letter grade?
Oh my God, thank you for reminding me, because I think I forgot to do that in the last 2 recordings. But yes, we will do that after the recording. Sarah, what grade do you give this episode?
I mean, I'll concur with Philip in the sense of, I think something that's lacking in this arc in general is like, insight into Faith's inner world, right? Which is a bummer. I wish we got more of that. I think that just would have elevated every good bit of this. That said, I think it's a B+. I think it's solid. Okay. I think it could have been better with context, and some of the lines that we talked about just are kind of awkward. But I think it's a B+. It's a great plot episode with some like good character stuff sprinkled in.
Cool. Yeah, I think I give it a B. But I think I agree with what you said about it being, it's better when it's paired with Bad Girls, but on its own, it's. I agree with that. Okay, yeah. What do we think Dawn would be doing in this episode, May?
I think at the beginning, Dawn would have been snuggled on that chair with Joyce watching the news, and Joyce would have been like, honey, you should go to bed. This isn't for you. And she'd be like, no, I want to stay up. And then when Buffy walked up, she would kind of turn around and look at her with that knowing, narrow eye look that Dawn does so well of like, I know you had something to do with this. And so I think she would have been kind of sneaking around and hiding during all the Scooby meetings and the conversations and stuff to get the scoop. I can see her sneaking out and following Buffy and Faith around while they're in downtown Sunnydale. And I think once she figures out, like, oh, Faith actually killed this guy, I think her mixed emotions about Faith, because I know that you've talked about the idea of what would Dawn be doing, and like she's both mesmerized by and a little afraid of Faith. I think in this episode, that would push her all the way over into fear. And she would no longer be looking up to Faith, no longer be looking at her like, oh, she's like a cooler version of my sister that doesn't treat me like shit. All of a sudden, she would be like, no, Faith is evil. I don't want anything to do with her.
I can see that. Yeah. No, I like that. Philip?
I think that Dawn was in the car while Angel knocked Faith out, and then she helped him carry her unconscious body to the...
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. No, she was like, when Buffy comes home and the police officer is there, she would have been like sitting on the top stair, and she'd be like, "You're in trouble." She would just be, like shit stirring.
I can see that
at home. Being like, Mum, like what did Buffy do? Like, did she do something really bad? Like, am I like the good one again after I broke that pot yesterday?
I do think that's pretty accurate. Sarah?
So is Dawn canonically like 12 then, if we're going mathematically? This is 12-year-old Dawn?
Yeah.
I like what both of you said. May, I like your Harriet the Spy idea.
Yeah.
She's very, because that's, Michelle Trachtenberg just really in her Harriet the Spy era. Yeah, I can see both of those. I just wrote like, what did I even write? Hold on. Oh God. I said like probably snooping around because Buffy wouldn't be telling her any details, both to protect Faith and like to protect her. And then I thought like maybe like this is just me making shit up, but I wrote, I feel like when she found out about Faith, she'd be like more curious to try to advocate on Faith's behalf. She'd be like, no, you must have gotten something wrong or something. Cause I feel like, I don't know, like in my head, I was just like, again, she'd be like kind of like mesmerized by her or something, or try to be like, no, there has to be something. Like Faith wouldn't do that. Like Faith is too cool. Mayhaps.
I always wonder how she would have felt about Cordelia and Faith are always people I would have liked to, because I mean, we do see Dawn and Faith, but not, you know what I mean? It's like the very end of season 7 and it's not much, but I'm always curious because I feel like it could have gone either way with Dawn, where like she likes them because her sister doesn't, or like she likes them because they are like the quote unquote cool girls, you know?
Could go either way.
Like I could see, right. Like I could see her being like, I want to smoke cigarettes, Faith smokes cigarettes. You know what I mean? So I guess for me, I just think Dawn would have been annoyingly instigated about like instigating. What are words? She would have been like an instigator when the cops were there. She would have been like, "Oh, Buffy definitely did it," to like the police, and been like really like wanting
Thanks,
to like
Dawn.
get her sister.
Wow.
Like I just think she would have tried to be like there during the interrogation, and like I think she would have tried to defend Faith at first, but then like that's when she would have turned
Sure.
on Faith when she realized Faith did do it.
Totally.
All right, so now that we're at the end, thank you all for being part of the Patreon. Thank you all for joining me. May, let everyone know where they can find you and find your podcast.
You can find me on social media platforms at Everson Poe. That's EVERSONPOE. I am mostly active on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can find my podcast, The Lady Killers, on Twitter at The Lady K Pod. And if you talk to me on there, you'll be talking to me. If you go on Instagram, we're at The Lady Killers Pod, and you'll be talking to the wonderful Sammy Kuykendall. I also edit Halloweenies, as mentioned at the top of the episode. They're doing Alien this year as their franchise, and I just finished editing the third episode on the first movie because they're going real in depth, but it's really cool stuff and very enjoyable. And you can also find my music by searching Everson Poe, 2 words, on both Bandcamp and streaming platforms.
Nice. And Sarah, let everyone know where they can find you and your channel.
The channel is written out in words, 5 by 5 takes on YouTube, obviously. And I don't really use Twitter, but you can follow the channel Twitter, which is the number 5, the letter X, the number 5, and then takes. Yeah.
And Philip, tell everyone about your new upcoming book.
Yes. So my new novel, We Could Be Heroes, is a big gay rom-com. It comes out in June. It's about a superhero who falls in love with a drag queen. And there are at least 3 Buffy Easter eggs in there. So yeah, see if you can spot them all. That comes out on the 4th of June in the US. And you can find me on Instagram at Philip Ellis. That's Philip with 1 L, Ellis with 2, where I will be shouting about the book and hopefully doing a lot more promo sort of throughout the spring.
Great. And yeah, you all know where to find us. And thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.